Trump's defense lawyers are in front of a federal judge in the classified documents case in Florida. Trump has already been charged in that probe tied to alleged mishandling of government documents. Part of today's pivotal hearing concerns zeroing in on an actual trial date. Also today, in the parallel special counsel investigation to 2020 election interference, we now know that Trump is a target of that sprawling probe. He was informed in a letter on Sunday. Those letters often signal that an investigation is wrapping up and an indictment is on the way. The former president's allies are rushing to his defense. Here's reaction from House Speaker Kevin McCarthy earlier.
President Trump went up in the polls and was actually surpassing President Biden for re-election. So what do they do now? Weaponize government to go after their number one opponent. It's time and time again. I think the American public is tired of this.
CNN Chief Congressional Correspondent Manu Raju is on Capitol Hill. What more are you hearing from Republicans in Congress?
Yeah, a lot of them aligning themselves with Donald Trump and contending that he has been unfairly targeted, contending that there is, in their words, a two-tier justice system, even though they have not seen any of the allegations that Special Counsel Jack Smith has come up with in this sprawling investigation into January 6th, and have any evidence or seen any of the evidence, have any idea what the charges might be. They are still rushing to defend it, many of them in line with the Speaker of the House, but other of them are silent, including the Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell. His top deputies have not said anything. That's been similar to the past two indictments when McConnell was quiet and Kevin McCarthy was very vocal, underscoring how these two men, the leaders of Congress, deal with the former president and the leader frontrunner for their presidential nomination. Now, some of them also indicating that Donald Trump had little role on January 6th. And I asked several of the House members leading votes just moments ago about Trump's role on January 6th and whether they believe he was responsible for the violence in the building that day. Do you think that Trump was at all responsible for January 6th?
I really don't know. I mean,
you're here that day.
Well, I voted to certify the election. Okay, I voted to certify the election. I believe that there should never have been a rally to begin with, but and it certainly got out of hand. Now, do I believe that he told people to come over here and break through the Capitol windows and storm the Capitol? I don't believe he did that, but I never was a fan of the rally that day.
We had a whole debate on impeachment, which is what the Constitution says about incitement, and it failed, right? I mean, and that's the point here. And the American people want to move forward, and they're trying to go backward. And
now, there was an impeachment resolution that was offered in the days after January 6, 2021. It was approved on a bipartisan basis in the House, but it was not, Trump, of course, was not convicted in the Senate, which needed 67 votes, though there was bipartisan support to do just that. But there are other calls for other actions that Republicans can take to go after Jack Smith. Since they control the House majority, some of them are talking about going after Jack Smith's budget. That's what some of the hard right members, including Congressman Matt Gaetz and some others, are suggesting that they should do. The Speaker himself has not said whether any actions he would take. He would not answer any questions about if there would be any actions taken against Jack Smith. But Anderson, that's what the House Judiciary Committee is eyeing. They've asked for a number of records from Jack Smith as part of the probe. The Justice Department does not want to provide that as part of an ongoing investigation, but that will be a point of contention in the weeks ahead.
Manu Raju, appreciate it. Thanks very much. Wolf?
Anderson, thank you. I want to bring in CNN law enforcement analyst Michael Fanone. He's a former D.C. Metro police officer who was badly wounded while responding to the January 6th attack. Officer Fanone, thanks so much for joining us. What's your reaction, first of all, to the news that Trump is now officially a target of this criminal investigation surrounding what happened on January 6th?
I think the letter just brings to light what we all, or at least most Americans who are grounded in reality, saw as the inevitable outcome of this investigation, or at least what we hoped for. But, my first reaction was better late than never.
Better late than never. How, as Trump is heading to a campaign event later today in Iowa, how concerned are you potentially about his rhetoric that's going to be emerging?
I'm not in the law enforcement profession anymore, but as somebody who has felt the brunt of his rhetoric, I would be incredibly concerned. I'd be incredibly concerned if I was in law enforcement. I'm incredibly concerned as an American citizen. We know what Donald Trump is capable of, and we know what his rhetoric is designed to do, what it's designed to elicit, whether it's his attacks on the FBI or his attacks on Director Wray, Jack Smith, the federal prosecutor in this case, or Merrick Garland. It's designed to elicit a violent response from his followers.
Well, on that point, if he is officially indicted for his role in January 6th, do you fear that his supporters will react and potentially in another brutal way?
I think that concerns about that type of reaction are warranted. I mean, obviously we saw what happened on January 6th. That being said, you know, this country is founded on a principle, at least one of its pillars is the rule of law. And there are laws in this country that are enacted by elected representatives that we all as Americans agree to adhere to. Donald Trump clearly felt he was above the law. And so I'm not concerned with the politics or what type of a response a prosecution of a former president elicits. The Constitution in this country demand that the former president be prosecuted because he broke the law.
Well, do you fear potentially another insurrection?
I don't know if we'll see something to that magnitude, but I definitely am concerned with smaller groups who are conspiring to commit acts of violence on Donald Trump's behalf. But there's always a potential, depending on his statements. I think people will be watching closely tonight what he says in Iowa.
Some of Trump's Republican allies in Congress continue to stand by his side despite all of this, what's going on. Is their defense of Trump potentially dangerous?
Absolutely. Anybody that continues to defend his lies and his statements, his inflammatory statements, is just adding credibility to an individual who has no credibility whatsoever, and is making it much more difficult for Americans to discount his statements as the lies that they are.
Final question. I know you were badly wounded on January 6th by these insurrectionists. How are you doing?
I get asked that question all the time. I'm still trying to, I don't know, Wolfman. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell happened, what happened to me, why it is that I'm not a cop anymore. One day at a time.
Well, good luck to you. We wish you only the very best. Michael Fanone, thanks for all you've done, and thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.